The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Coalition stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystalline floor, its dome reaching so high that atmospheric processors maintained different pressure zones at various elevations. Representatives from 473 species occupied their designated zones, some floating in methane clouds, others submerged in pressure tanks, and many simply standing on platforms suited to their biology. Jennifer Chen stood in Earth's delegation pod, her dark eyes scanning the assembly with the calm of someone who had expected this moment. Beside her, Kevin Rodriguez adjusted his formal diplomatic jacket, his jaw tight as the voting numbers materialized in holographic displays throughout the chamber. 412 votes in favor, 47 opposed, 14 abstentions. Earth was banished. The Vraxian ambassador, a towering being of crystalline structures and pulsing energy, raised what approximated an appendage. The vote is concluded. Humanity has proven itself too volatile, too aggressive, too unpredictable for continued participation in the Galactic Coalition. The species will be quarantined to its home system, effective immediately. All trade agreements are dissolved. All diplomatic ties are severed. All jump gate access to the Sol system will be revoked within 1 standard cycle. Kevin leaned toward Jennifer, his whisper barely audible over the translator hum. They actually did it. They're throwing us out like we're some kind of threat. Jennifer's expression didn't change. They have no idea what kind of threat we really are. The assembly began to dissolve into celebration among most delegations. The Korvash, silicon-based beings who process time differently than carbon-based life, vibrated with what their translators interpreted as relief and satisfaction. The aquatic delphinians sent streams of bioluminescent pulses through their tanks, a display of joy. But Jennifer stepped forward to the speaker's platform, her movement triggering automatic translation protocols. "Honored delegates," she began, her voice amplified across the vast chamber. The celebration didn't stop. "I said honored delegates." This time her volume cut through the noise. Silence rippled outward from Earth's pod. "You have voted to banish humanity. That is your right under coalition law, and we will respect the democratic process." Jennifer paused, letting the words settle. Several delegates shifted, surprised by her acceptance. "However, there are certain matters that must be addressed before we depart." The Vraxian ambassador pulsed with irritation. "There are no matters to address. The vote is final. Earth's quarantine begins now." Jennifer smiled, and Kevin recognized that particular expression. He'd seen it before, in the war colleges, in the strategy rooms, in the moments before humanity revealed something the galaxy hadn't anticipated. "Oh, but there are matters," Jennifer said. "You see, when Earth joined the Coalition 247 years ago, we signed treaties. We entered agreements. We took on responsibilities." She pulled up a holographic display that filled the center of the assembly. Responsibilities that, it seems, you've all become quite dependent upon. The display showed a star map, and Kevin watched as red markers began appearing across Coalition space. Hundreds of them, then thousands. These markers represent every installation, station, relay, and facility that runs on human-designed quantum processors, Jennifer explained. "When we joined the Coalition, our computational technology was approximately 400 years ahead of the galactic standard. You welcomed us because of it. You integrated it into everything." The Korvash delegate vibrated alarm. "What are you implying, human?" "I'm not implying anything," Jennifer replied. "I'm stating facts. 92% of the Coalition's communications network operates on human quantum relay systems. 87% of your life support systems on mixed atmosphere stations use human environmental processors because they're the only ones efficient enough to handle the complexity. Every single jump gate in Coalition space, all 6,412 of them, uses human-designed navigation computers, because ours are the only ones fast enough to calculate real-time gravitational fluctuations. Kevin pulled up his own data slate, continuing where Jennifer left off. 73% of your medical facilities use human diagnostic AI. 68% of your agricultural systems use human-designed crop optimization algorithms. Should I continue? The assembly had gone deathly quiet. The Delphinian ambassador, a creature of graceful intelligence, pulsed a question through its translator. Are you threatening to sabotage coalition infrastructure? Sabotage? Jennifer's laugh was genuine. No, Ambassador, we would never sabotage anything. That would be aggressive, volatile, unpredictable. She used the Vraxian's own words. We're simply reminding you of the terms of our original membership agreements. She pulled up another document, this one dense with legal text. Article 47, Section 12 of the Coalition Integration Treaty states, any technology provided by an integrating species remains the intellectual property of that species and is licensed to the coalition under terms of continued membership. We're no longer members. The licenses expire. The Vraxian ambassador's energy field fluctuated wildly. You cannot be serious. You would cripple the entire coalition. We won't cripple anything, Kevin interjected, his voice steady. Your systems will simply revert to pre-human technology. You'll go back to the way things were before Earth joined. Of course, your communications will be about 40 times slower. Your jump calculations will take approximately 6 hours instead of 6 seconds, meaning every interstellar journey will take significantly longer. Your life support systems will need to be replaced on any station supporting more than 3 species simultaneously. Your medical diagnostic accuracy will drop by approximately 70%. Jennifer stepped forward again. But you'll manage. The coalition existed before humanity. It will exist after. This is extortion. The Vraxian's translator struggled to process the intensity of the being's emotional output. No, Jennifer corrected. This is business. You voted to terminate our membership. Fine, but you don't get to keep the benefits of membership without us. She paused. However, we're not unreasonable. We're willing to negotiate licensing agreements. The Corvash delegate vibrated a question. What kind of agreements? Kevin smiled. Individual agreements with each species, at market rates, determined, of course, by supply and demand. And seeing as humanity has a monopoly on this particular technology and demand is quite literally galaxy-wide, well, he let the implication hang. You're holding the coalition hostage, the Delphinian accused. We're exercising our property rights, Jennifer countered. There's a difference. You voted to exclude us from the coalition. We accept that. But you don't get to exclude us and keep our technology without compensation. That's not how this works. The assembly erupted into chaos. Delegates argued, translators overloaded, and the carefully maintained order dissolved into panic. Jennifer stood calmly at the center of it all, waiting. Finally, the supreme arbiter, a Thalaxian whose species had founded the coalition 8,000 years prior, raised itself from its meditation chamber. The ancient being rarely spoke, intervening only when the coalition itself faced existential questions. Silence, it said, and the single word carried enough authority to cut through the chaos. The human is correct. We cannot legally compel them to provide technology licenses if they are not coalition members. The law is clear. The Vraxian began to protest, but the arbiter continued. However, perhaps we have acted in haste. The vote to banish Earth was based on perceptions of human aggression and unpredictability. Yet I wonder if we have confused caution with fear and strength with danger. Kevin exchanged a glance with Jennifer. This wasn't the direction either had expected. The arbiter turned its ancient gaze toward the human delegation. Humanity is young, aggressive, yes, quick to anger perhaps, but also quick to innovate, quick to adapt, quick to solve problems that have plagued us for millennia. The question is not whether humanity is different from us. The question is whether that difference is a threat or an asset. They are dangerous, the Vraxian insisted. Their history is filled with violence, war, destruction. So is ours, the arbiter interrupted. So is every species here. The difference is that humanity's violence is recent enough to frighten us. We have forgotten our own brutal pasts. Jennifer saw the opening and took it. Supreme Arbiter, if I may, Earth doesn't want to leave the Coalition. We believe in what the Coalition represents. But we also won't be members of an organization that treats us as second-class citizens, that fears us for traits that every species here once possessed. If the Coalition wants to quarantine us for being what we are, then so be it. But it will be done on our terms, not yours. The Arbiter was silent for a long moment. Then it spoke. I propose a revote, not on whether humanity is dangerous, but on whether we want a coalition strong enough to include that danger and wise enough to channel it productively. All in favor. The vote was different this time, not unanimous but enough. 387 votes in favor of Earth's continued membership, 71 opposed, 15 abstentions. As the assembly adjourned, the Vraxian ambassador approached Jennifer and Kevin. You manipulated this entire situation. Jennifer smiled. We simply reminded everyone of the rules, your rules, coalition rules. We didn't break them. We just understood them better than you did. Kevin added, and that's what makes humanity valuable, ambassador. We don't just follow the rules. We understand them, we work within them, and sometimes we use them to make a point. The Vraxian's energy field pulsed with what might have been grudging respect. Perhaps you are more dangerous than we realized, but perhaps that is precisely what the Coalition needs. As they left the Grand Assembly Hall, Kevin turned to Jennifer. That was incredibly risky. What if the Arbiter hadn't intervened? Jennifer shrugged. Then we would have gone home, started negotiating licensing fees, and made more money than the entire Coalition GDP combined. Either way, humanity wins. That's what they don't understand yet, Kevin. We don't win by being the strongest or the fastest or the smartest. We win by making sure that even when we lose, we still come out ahead. That's very human of you, Kevin said with a grin. Exactly, Jennifer replied. And they just voted to keep us around. Now they'll learn what that really means. Behind them, the Coalition had survived its first real test of humanity. It would not be the last, but it had learned an important lesson. When you play games with humans, make sure you understand all the rules, because humanity certainly does.